Welcome to Unity of Springfield here on a Sunday morning. I'm Reverend Christine McFarland, and we are grateful to have you join us this morning, and know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here in Unity, and we are glad to have you this morning joining us. We're going to have Barb and Salo open us with our service today, sharing Karen Drucker's God is My Source. Sing along if you'd like, and if you know the words.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Faith is my source. Faith is my power. Faith gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Faith gives me everything I need. Strength is my source. Strength is my power. Strength gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Strength gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
You can hear the applause virtually, right? So we join together today in prayer with Unity Spiritual Center in Asbury, New Jersey. And before I share the opening prayer today, Cindy is going to share a note that came in this week.
I'm sure several of you remember our friend Chris Ernst, who played the organ during the 9 o'clock service when Jerry Comstock was our minister. Chris also painted the faux stones on the front of our church. Chris made her transition this Thursday, and although there are no services planned at this time, you may view her full obituary at the website of the Davis Anderson Funeral Home in Girard. So let us take just a few moments of silence to honor this lady who blessed us with her musical talents, her artistic abilities, and her loving presence.
Thank you, Cindy.
Amen.
Amen. And so we honor our beloved Chris, and we go into this day knowing that she is free and unlimited at this point. And we send her into that peaceful place that lives within us as well. And we release all to God. Just take that journey from our head into our hearts. We open our minds, we open our hearts, and we become one with that spirit indwelling. Knowing that peaceful presence exists within us, we too feel peaceful and free. We are open and receptive. We come back into this day, into this time, preparing for this week, knowing all truly is well, and so it is. Amen. We have some announcements today. On Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Ruth is hosting our Silent Unity service in Zoom. If you're able to join us for that, we would love to see you. On Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m., Chris Fairshon leads us in a guided meditation. And if that's something you're interested in knowing more about, definitely join Chris on Tuesdays at 5:30. She would love to have you. Wednesdays at 5:30, Karen's leading us in the gathering meditation. The gathering meditation is a little more contemplative, and you're invited to join us for that as well and learn a little bit more about that. Our March-April newsletter will be coming out March 1st. Many thanks to everyone who has sent in articles to be published, and many thanks to Chris Fairshon for putting that all together. It takes a village. And please reserve the date, March 28th. It's the date of our annual meeting. And membership renewal cards were sent a little bit ago, and all those need to come in if you would like to vote at the annual meeting. And that's a way for us to keep track of membership as well. And Chris Zelli did an announcement about that last week, and I believe she's contacted you if we haven't heard from you yet. So thank you for sending in your renewal cards. And our last announcement this morning is that there's going to be a writing workshop, Creating Your Legacy. And Ken's planning to do this on March 13th and 20th from 2 to 3:30 in the afternoon. He'd like a show of hands for how many people might be interested in taking this creative writing workshop. Karen and Cindy are going to do a quick count. They're turning on their gallery view right now, and they're checking everybody out. A show of hands, you can raise your hand or you can raise your hand visually, either way. Okay. All right, so we go forward with our affirmation this morning. If you'd like to join me in saying this together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, the source of all good. We have a vision statement. If you would join me in saying our vision statement together. A world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And our mission statement. Together, we recognize God is love, individualized in all people. Therefore, we provide a positive environment for spiritual growth that empowers all to be God's love in the world. And our daily word for the last day in February is connection. And Linda will be sharing that with us this morning.
Our word for today is connection. I honor my connection with all people. No matter how great the distance that exists between me and the people I care about, I know we are connected by our love for one another. Today, I reestablish and strengthen this connection by reaching out, even if it's only to let someone know I'm thinking of them. Our connection is also kept strong through prayer. As I pray for those I care about, I bless them by holding my highest vision for their lives, seeing them as healthy, prosperous, happy, and fulfilled. Whether we're in frequent contact or have fallen out of touch, my connection with my loved ones remains strong because we are one in God, one in love. And from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 13, for in the one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and we were all made to drink of one Spirit. Again, the word for today is connection, and our affirmation, I honor my connection with all people.
Thank you, Linda. And as we prepare for meditation, Barb and Salo are going to share God is so good with us to prepare our time.
Here's a beautiful song I found from Wings of Song 329. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. God's so good to me. God healeth me. God healeth me. God is so good. God healeth me. God blesses me. God blesses me. God is so good. God's so good to me. God gives me strength. God gives me strength. God is so good. God's so good to me. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. God's so good to me.
So let's just take in a breath and settle into that awareness. Breathing in and breathing out. Allowing the words of the song to resonate in our hearts and our minds. God is so good. God is so good to me. Let's allow that to sink in for a moment, to really hear the words, to allow ourselves to become receptive to the words, to become aware of how good God truly is to us. Opening our minds to that awareness, we become more and more receptive to that goodness, to that connection to our source, to that divine intelligence that blesses us every step of our journey, allowing us to become more and more aware of that presence when we center into the inner sanctuary that is our spirit, our soul. Here is where we can let everything go that is troublesome and take in all the goodness that is God, refueling us telling us about all of our qualities and our gifts and our divine purpose in this holy space. I invite you to take in these words of wisdom that are meant just for you. We receive everything we truly need in this inner sanctuary where our hearts are open, our minds are quiet, and we are connected to our source. In this place, we receive inspiration and guidance and direction. We're reminded that we truly are a child of the divine, that we are God's children. Knowing that we truly are blessed by God, we come back to this time and this place fully aware of all of our blessings. When you're ready, I invite you to begin wiggling your fingers and your toes to just become more aware of the room around you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. We'll come back. It's hard to know when you've all arrived, so I kind of wait a little moment and I keep talking a little bit. Today is Walking Greatness, Part 2. We're expanding a little bit on what we talked about last week. And today, before I get started, first, I wanted to share a story about something that happened earlier this week. Bill Shepard and I, we met over at the church and we were going to meet a contractor. And before the contractor arrived, before Bill arrived, I opened my office door. I opened Chris's office door. I was getting everything set up and ready for everybody to get there. And somewhere along the way, in all of the busyness of having the contractor come in, As we were preparing to leave, I couldn't find my keys. Okay. Have you ever had that experience? You put your keys down somewhere and you don't know where they are. So before I tell Bill I can't find my keys, I go back to my office. I look for my keys. I don't see them. I go to Chris's office. I look for my keys. I can't find them. And then I go, okay, let me check my coat pocket. Nope, not there. So then I do a double check. Do you do that too? Okay, let's check the desk, the floor, the door, the this, the that. I did everything. And then I went to Chris's office and did the same thing. And finally I said, Bill, I can't find my keys. Have you seen my keys? I'm not going to be able to get anywhere if I can't find my keys. Well, Bill must have heard this a few times before, because he nonchalantly gets up and says, okay, it's time to begin the hunt. And I'm like, we couldn't have gone very far. And I'm talking this out loud. And then I double check all the places once again. And then I pat my pants pocket. Guess what? My keys were in my pants pocket. Lo and behold, my keys were on me. And this embarrassed state, I then tell Bill, I've been wearing stretchy yoga pants for a year. I haven't worn pants with a pocket for a year. Why would I check my pants pocket? Now, if somebody's replaying this video in the future, they may not understand this joke, but if you've been in the middle of COVID for a year and you've been wearing yoga pants, you understand the struggle, right? First time you go out and you wear pants that have pockets and you put your keys in it, you can't find them. Anyway, we gotta laugh at ourselves sometimes, but it wasn't a walk in greatness on my part, but sometimes we just have to laugh at ourselves. But today we have a companion lesson to last week's talk on walking in greatness. Last Sunday was all about words, the power of them as others assign labels to us, and the power of them as we issue them from our lips, and how they affect the lives of those around us. I invited us to ask 4 questions before we spoke or decided to pass any information along. Do you remember what they were? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it any of my spiritual business? Those were the 4 questions. And we know in unity that our thoughts become our words and our words become our actions. And as a sequel to last week, I want us to focus on the actions that we choose. Last week we focused on the thoughts, but this week it's actions. So because everything is always a choice, we have that opportunity. I absolutely love the works of Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was amazingly spiritual. I don't know if you all know that. He was a man of his time. He was ahead of his time. I rediscovered a quote in my filing cabinet this week. And he said this: "What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say." What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. It's easy to talk a good talk. It takes tremendous discipline and commitment to walk the walk. It takes spiritual and emotional maturity to walk the walk. Can we really walk in greatness if we do not take time to determine the message? 15 minutes of silence will bring us the clarity that we're seeking, but we have to make time for it. To ask the questions and then patiently wait for the answers. When someone chooses to take on an extreme endeavor, such as a hike that will be physically demanding, they need to prepare for it. And that takes some thoughtful planning sometimes. What will they pack in their bag? Remembering they may need food and water, clothing, and something to sleep on if it's an overnight adventure. And then they must make the decision every day to stay on course with their physical training and their workouts. My husband, Michael, who left this physical world 10 years ago last week, grew up in Texas. And there was an expectation in Texas amongst young men that everyone needed to learn to play football. I guess they were influenced by that team out there. And if you were good at it, it was expected that you continue to develop your football skills. And so every year he trained for the football season. He was 6'6", he was a big guy, and he received a free ride and a scholarship to Tulane University. So you know what that meant, right? He was in training at Tulane, preparing for a draft by the NFL. This was his whole drive and motivation. But that never happened due to some injuries that he had undertaken. But making the decision to stay on course all that time, it took a lot of commitment. From a young child into a college age, and it was a long time. It included workouts and diet and exercise, sleep, a complete regimen. And we can relate to that commitment as true students. We've made a choice or we wouldn't be here today. We have chosen to walk a spiritual path, a walk in greatness that will lead us to heaven right here on earth. We too have to do some training for the walk. We too make a decision every step along the way to stay on course or to do something else. What is our spiritual exercise regime? That's the question. What we choose is going to make all the difference in the quality of our lives. What does our spiritual exercise program look like? If someone's outside and peeking in your window, peeking in the window of your life, will they see us exercising by leaping to conclusions, jumping from the frying pan into the fire, making assumptions, blaming others and circumstances, shooting from the hip or more precisely the lip, running down the competition, playing the victim, gathering evidence, slinging arrows of negativity, living in the past, hiding from our issues, pointing a finger, wearing a mask? Well, we kind of are wearing a mask right now, but I'm talking about creating a facade. Does our spiritual exercise plan include whining and complaining about who has done what or how it isn't fair? It's all a choice. And I've said it a few times, the quality of our experience here on earth boils down to one very simple 5-word equation. My choices equal my life. My choices equal my life. Does our spiritual exercise program include praying, meditating, holding the high watch, stilling our thoughts, going within, knowing the truth, affirming the best, and seeing through divine eyes? So how are we choosing to spend our energy? Here's something to think about. The words reacting and creating are comprised of the exact same letters. But choosing one over the other makes a huge difference in how we experience life. Are we reacting to it or are we creating? With one, we're going to listen to really hear what another has to say, and we're going to create harmony. St. Francis of Assisi prayed a prayer that we would choose to understand over being understood. And that's hard to do if we are simply reacting to what's being done and said around us. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and the whole time they're speaking in our heads, instead of getting to the meaning of their words, the game plan of rebuttal is being laid out? And the moment they pause for a breath, wham, we're right in there with our well thought out argument. Life would be so much better and richer if we'd all give up the right to be right. Einstein said this: you cannot simultaneously prevent and prepare for war. You cannot simultaneously listen with an open heart and silently prepare our rebuttal. We cannot simultaneously live tied emotionally to our past and live fully in the present. We cannot simultaneously live as a victim and live as a victor. It's all a choice. It's all about making a decision to live as a child of the divine. Walking a path of spiritual oneness, walking in the greatness of God's love, walking in the teachings of Jesus and Buddha and Confucius and all the other great masters. And living a life of compassion, forgiveness, non-resistance, and love. There is a natural urge within us to want to live in greatness, because we were wired to express the greatness within us that is God. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within us. Therefore, we can experience heaven on earth. And it begins with our willingness to accept the greatness that is within us. Sounds familiar. Didn't we just hear that in a song before meditation? This wasn't planned, right? This is a part of the divine plan. It's not enough to say that we want peace on earth, goodwill toward all. It's not enough to say that we want prosperity and abundance in our lives. It's not enough to say that we want healthy, nurturing, loving relationships at work all the time. It is not enough to say that we want a fulfilling career that makes our hearts sing. It's not enough to say that we want whatever it is that we want. The fifth of Unity's 5 basic principles is that we take action. This is a wonderful spiritual movement. It's all about practical Christianity. Taking the truth that God is good, that we are inherently good, that our thoughts create our reality, that affirmations and denials, meditation and prayer work. Putting them into action in our lives, saying it alone is not enough. We are assured in the good book that it is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, and we have to want it enough to claim it. It's not enough to talk the talk. We must walk the walk. Taking a spiritual journey is not for wimps. It requires a diligence of self-observation, and it requires that we ask God often for direction. And then we courageously follow that guidance in that direction. Embarking on this spiritual journey towards wholeness is not easy, but there are amazing, marvelous rewards awaiting those who are willing to make the sacrifices of walking the walk. C.J. Adams once said, "Your life is a sacred journey, and it is about change, growth, discovery, movement, transformation, continuously expanding your vision of what is possible, stretching your soul, learning to see clearly and deeply, listening to your intuition, taking courageous risks, embracing challenges at every step along the way, You are on the path exactly where you are meant to be right now. And from here, you can only go forward, shaping your life story into a magnificent tale of triumph, of healing, of courage, beauty, wisdom, power, dignity, and love. A powerful quote, powerful affirmation, and a great reminder to us. We have to decide to get on the path. We have to decide to stay on the path. And sometimes it's a tough choice, but one we need to make. Margaret Thatcher once said, standing in the middle of the road is very dangerous. You can get knocked down by traffic from both sides of the road. Some people like standing in the middle of the road. They feel like it's easier not to decide anything. But choosing not to act is also a decision. Some people are so indecisive that their favorite color is plaid. Being on a spiritual path is about personal responsibility. It's about making good choices. It's about loving ourselves and those around us, and not letting ourselves off the hook when we've behaved in less than loving ways. It's choosing to be a child of God and making that choice a priority in our lives. It's about asking, how would a child of divine love respond in any given situation, and then acting from that place. Herman Hassey was a German Swiss poet and novelist. He received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1946, and he has some wise words to share with us this morning. Each of us has only one genuine vocation: to find the way to ourselves. Our task is to discover our own destiny, not an arbitrary one, and live it out wholly and resolutely within ourselves. Everything else is only a would-be existence, an attempt at evasion, a flight back to the ideals of the masses, conformity, and fear of one's own inwardness. The phrase fear of one's own inwardness jumps out at me. Isn't that what keeps us from getting on the path or derails us once we're on it? Fear of our own inwardness, of what we will find? It's been said that no amount of self-improvement can make up for lack of self-acceptance. If we fear looking inside ourselves, isn't it a natural defense to stay busy outside of ourselves, looking for what's wrong in everybody else? If we cannot accept ourselves, how can we possibly think that we can accept our brothers and sisters on this planet? If we cannot love ourselves, how can we possibly think that we can love anyone else? How can anyone in our lives be free if we keep ourselves imprisoned with pettiness, fear, and judgment? We cannot be lost if we are anchored into the power and that presence and that peace that is God. We cannot go astray if it is God's guidance we are using as our roadmap. We cannot wander into the land of negativity or fall off the path into the pits of despair if we are aligned with the almighty presence of divine love. The path will not remain darkened long if we are allowing divine light to illumine the way. It's not easy. Sometimes we get knocked off the path by someone else's ignorance or innocence. Sometimes we knock ourselves off, but we get back up again and we keep going. There is a Chinese proverb that says, get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. And with God, we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, and we keep on trying. In the 4 agreements, the last agreement tells us to always do our best. So we observe our choices, we take responsibility for them, and then we use that information as the basis of whether we'll make that choice the next time. To put our energy into simply talking about being spiritual or actually putting our energy into walking a path of greatness as a beloved child of a loving God, that choice is ours. Emerson said, "What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say." And Gandhi said it this way, "My life is my message." Beginning today, I invite us to be the message, to be the love of God, to be the voice of God, to be the compassion of God, to walk in greatness that has been promised to each, and to create heaven here on earth. That's our choice. It's up to us. Next week, we will be talking about forgiving wisdom. Until then, know that God loves you and so do I. We have covering the 12 powers this year, and the first month, January, was faith. The second month, February, has been strength. So we have faith and strength. And guess what the month of March means? Wisdom. So next month, we will be talking about the power of wisdom and our 12 power experiences this year. Until then, let's prepare for our offertory. Taking our gifts in our hands and imagining them, we just know that we are blessed by God. We have the divine intelligence and wisdom to use our gifts wisely. And we know as we all bless this ministry, we send our gifts forth with love and enthusiasm, knowing they go forth with many blessings and they are multiplied. And so we just know divine love blesses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. And so it is. Thank you, God. A special thanks this week to Chris Farishan, Bill Shepard, Chris Zelli. Thanks for all of I can't read the screen here. Hold on one second. Thanks to their attention to an ongoing matter believed to have been resolved several times. Our slow leaking gas meter has been replaced. Bill Shepard has spent many hours at the church this week. Let's bless Bill for all of his service. We really, truly appreciate you, Bill. Thank you so much. And let's join together in our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all truly is well.